Hey everyone! In this video, I'm going to break down a pitch from Mark Skousen about the SpaceX IPO. I'm going to reveal the investments he's teasing so you don't have to sit through a long sales presentation or pay for a newsletter just to get the names. I want to be clear from the start because this is where a lot of people get tripped up. These kinds of pitches are not really about giving you groundbreaking insider access. They are structured to build excitement, create urgency, and ultimately get you to subscribe to a paid research service. That doesn't automatically make the ideas bad, but it does mean you need to separate the marketing from the actual investment case. So let's start with the core claim. Skousen says you can invest in SpaceX before it goes public, even if you're not a wealthy insider or an accredited investor. He frames this as a rare opportunity, something usually reserved for venture capital firms and Silicon Valley elites. And to make it more compelling, he ties it to a potential IPO that he says could be the biggest in history, possibly valuing SpaceX at over $1 trillion. Skousen then leans into the idea that most profits are made before a company goes public. You'll hear this a lot in these pitches. There's some truth to it in venture capital, but it's also used as a psychological lever to make you feel like you're missing out if you don't act now. The first investment he talks about is a fund created by Cathie Wood that allows regular investors to access private companies. That fund is the ARK Venture Fund. The fund does invest in private companies, and yes, it has exposure to SpaceX. However, don't forget that when you buy into ARK Venture, you're not buying SpaceX alone, but a basket of private investments. On top of that, there are fees, liquidity constraints, and platform limitations since you typically access it through apps like SoFi or Titan. So yes, it's technically a way in, but it's not some direct backdoor jackpot. Then he moves to the second opportunity, and it is a fund with one of the largest SpaceX positions available to retail investors. He builds it up as something 99% of people will never find. If you've watched enough of these pitches, you know this is likely referring to Destiny Tech 100. This is one of the few publicly traded funds that hold shares in private tech companies, including SpaceX. It's been getting attention specifically because of that exposure. Its price can also trade at a premium or discount to its net asset value, which adds another layer of complexity. In my opinion, calling this a backdoor to SpaceX is technically true, but practically speaking, it's indirect exposure with its own risks. Now let's get into the bonus stock teasers, because this is where things get more interesting. Skousen mentions three companies tied to SpaceX's ecosystem. The first is a launch partner that paid around $500 million to SpaceX to launch its satellite constellation using Falcon 9 rockets. That lines up very closely with Iridium Communications. Iridium made a major deal with SpaceX to launch its satellite constellation. Financially, Iridium generates over $800 million in annual revenue with a focus on satellite communications services, and it's been steadily growing its subscriber base. It's a real business, but it's not some hidden microcap waiting to explode. It's already well known in the satellite space. The second company Mark teases is what he considers the chip maker behind Starlink hardware. This one is a bit more interpretive, but the most likely candidate is ST Microelectronics, or possibly Broadcom. Broadcom, in particular, is known for designing and supplying chips used in networking and satellite communications systems. Mark describes the third company as a distribution partner for Starlink, working with enterprise and government clients. The strongest match here is Speedcast, or potentially Kongsberg Gruppen, both of which have been involved in satellite communications and government-level contracts. These companies are intermediaries that help deploy and manage connectivity solutions. Now, if you've been paying attention, none of these companies are secret. They're well-known businesses with real financials, operating in the satellite and communications ecosystem. When Mark talks about them giving you a 1,500% upside, that sounds like marketing language. At the end of the day, the entire pitch leads you to his newsletter, the Skousen Report. That's the actual product he is pitching behind the teasers and the SpaceX trillion-dollar IPO narrative. You should understand that investing based purely on a newsletter pitch is not a strategy. My advice is simple. Stick to your investment strategy. If you don't have one, take the time to build one, or speak to a licensed financial advisor who can help you align your decisions with your goals and risk tolerance. And when it comes to Mark Skousen, he's marketing a newsletter. But if you want to try it out, that's entirely your choice. Thanks for tuning in, and if you found this breakdown helpful, don't forget to check out more teaser breakdowns on this channel. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up below and subscribe for more.